Hello, welcome to the training webinar. Again, we are talking about UI this week, and what we're going to do is we are going to extend what we talked about last week to a more advanced way of building a user interface in Process Director. Before we do that, I have once again pasted into chat an invite link for the Circle community. That is the BP Logix user community that we have built and continue to build for you to be able to find a place to talk to other users or talk to BP Logix personnel. And that invite link I have given you specifically so that you can join a forum that we'll be holding in a live room on Friday. It's a customer forum using AI to speed implementation. We're going to talk about some of the things that we are thinking about implementing in the product. We'll run those past you to get your feedback on those ideas, as well as to collect ideas from you about what would help you in Process Director. Our focus is for us to find ways to make it much easier and eliminate much of the rather repetitive and tedious work that you have to go through whenever you make a new application in Process Director. And sometimes when you go back in and you want to edit a form. So we're going to be having this forum. It's going to be on Friday, tomorrow. Oh my goodness, it is tomorrow. And it's going to be at noon Pacific time. So if you are able to attend, we'd certainly appreciate seeing you there. So just wanted to get that out of the way here at the beginning, and if I can remember to do so, I'll try to bring it up again at the end. So what we're looking at here is a workspace. This is my advanced UI workspace, and it has a couple of cool little features to it. Now, this is a workspace for submitting some sort of notional request. I have two different types of requests that I can submit, an HR request and an IT request. Now, in addition to my buttons here for my IT and HR request, which if I click them, will open a form to enable you to submit your IT request. As you can see, it's not much of an IT request, but you can still submit it. And you can track the different types of requests. Oh, and in addition to these buttons up here, I also have HR and IT request buttons on the UI itself, so that again, if you click on it, it will open up the appropriate item to enable you to make a request. At the very top, I've just got a logo and some text. I do have an image that displays my profile image on the system, as well as my name. I have a little sidebar here that shows me my active HR requests and IT requests, and there are little buttons here that if I click on them, they will open up the appropriate knowledge views. I probably should have switched this knowledge view to the version 6 UI. I'll probably do that at some point during our webinar today, but those are my HR requests that are active that I have submitted. Here are the IT requests, again, that are active that I have submitted. And then I have my task list. Now, I'm already showing my task list here, so, opening it in a separate window is more or less unnecessary, but I have it, so we can do that, and it's basically there just to show capability. Of course, I have my regular task list here, so if I click on my regular task list, it will open up all of my requests. So it's one of my HR requests. Here's one of my IT requests. It just opens it directly. Over on the side here, didn't mean to click on that. Let me get rid of that for the moment. Over here on the side, I have a chart that I have created, and it shows me all of my active tasks. I have 3 IT requests that I have some form of action that I need to do, largely because all of the actions are assigned to me in this system. And I have 2 HR requests that I need to do. So I've got this little infographic over here. There are other things that you can do, but I think what we want to see today is just the ability to style and be able to use what is essentially a form that enables me to create a, 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 a workspace just using that form. And we'll go in and we'll take a look at how that workspace was created in just a little bit. As an aside, when we're talking about styling, notice that I have these nifty little drop shadows here around these items. It's not the mid 2000s, and maybe drop shadows aren't the most modern thing. But again, I'm showing a capability that we have that you can implement in this case via CSS to be able to show those shadows. So this is basically a form, a single process director form. Can't submit it or anything, but this form is what creates the UI for my end users. And if I were to open up my content list here, you can see that the form, just automatically contracts to the appropriate size. So everything is all sized properly. And if I get rid of the content list, we can see all the items. So today we're going to talk about how this is built and how you can build it and implement it in Process Director. Now, there are some building blocks that we need to make all of this work, and we are not going to go through the process of building all of the base objects, the forms and stuff, but we are going to go ahead and take a look at them. So I have 2 applications that I'm running. There's an HR application and an IT application. Their actual contents are not really relevant for this discussion, except for the fact that they must exist and instances of these forms must exist, and timeline instances that assign tasks to me, in this case, must exist. But these are the 2 applications, as it were, that we are going to track in our UI. So I have this little UI that I want to create for people who submit HR and IT requests. So this is kind of like a generic request UI. I'm going to need both business values and knowledge views to make this work. So we saw those active HR requests, and while we're in here, I am going to use the Process Director 6 style. So I'm going to update these real quick. But all this does is show me my active HR requests. Another knowledge view shows me my active IT requests. And then I have a custom task list, and this is worth talking about. Now, obviously, you have the task list in Process Director. It's a global knowledge view, and it shows you all of your tasks. So whenever we look over at the workspace for the user profile. So here's my task list. Now, in this case, since I only have these processes running on my installation, I have the same 5 tasks displayed here as are displayed in the advanced UI workspace. If I had additional tasks, they would show up here in this workspace because this is my global task list. This shows me every task that I have been assigned on this system. So it collates all of my tasks. There are only 5 of them, but then again, as you can see, there are only 5 processes running on my system, all of which are related to today's webinar. Now, the global task list is fine if I'm just opening up as a regular user and I want to see all of my tasks from everywhere in the system. This is a great way to track those tasks. But that's not what I want to do with this knowledge view. I don't want to show all of my tasks that exist everywhere in the system. I only want to show those tasks that are relevant to this workspace. So basically either my HR or IT timeline tasks. Those are the only ones I care about. Since that is so, I can't really use the global task list inside of a discrete workspace like this, which means I have to create my own task list, knowledge view. Now, there are 2 ways that I can go about doing this. Shouldn't have changed tabs because what I was looking for is right here. I do have a task list knowledge view type. So I could create a custom task list knowledge view. There are some drawbacks to doing that because it is a task list. Filtering it is harder and the configuration is a little more wonky. You also have fewer configuration options. So I have elected to just make this a regular content list knowledge view. That's the default type of knowledge view that you would create. But what I have done is I've gone down here and I have selected this property. When a form instance is opened, treat it like it was opened from a task list. Normally, when you open up a content list knowledge view and you're presented with a list of form instances, if you click on one of the form instances, it's going to show them to you outside of task context. So if you don't have a task assigned, you're not going to see completion buttons in any case. But if you do have a task assigned and you open a regular content list knowledge view, you're not going to see those buttons. This is a not uncommon question that we get inside of tech support where people say, look, I know that this person has a task assigned, but when they open it from my knowledge view, it doesn't show them the buttons. Well, it doesn't show them the task completion buttons because normally that doesn't happen when you open a regular content list knowledge view. The content list knowledge view is there largely to allow you to display form instances and then open those form instances for review without necessarily performing a task. However, this checkbox right here, more or less, transforms a content list knowledge view into a task list. So if you do have a task assigned, then when you open the form that is associated with that task, it will display your buttons to your task completion buttons to approve or deny or whatever the task completion result is. So this is a very important checkbox to check. And what it enables you to do is to have the full range of options available to you for what you would like to show your end users and what permissions you would like to give them, what actions you would like them to perform. And so you lose all of the constraints that would apply if you chose a task list knowledge view. So you still get full control over it. You can, of course, pick your own items here. You get to show form fields. It's a pretty cool deal to be able to have. And of course, you can filter it. So in this case, I am just filtering, and in this case, I'm looking for the name, and I just called them IT form and HR form. I just made life easy for myself. So if the name contains HR form, and the timeline status is active, or if it contains the name IT form or the timeline status is active, those are the items that it's going to return for me. So it's going to show only those form instances that are active and running and that are either HR or IT forms. And so, despite all of the forms and other things that I have on my system, if I run that knowledge view, that my task list knowledge view, then it is just going to show me those 5 tasks that are active. And in this case, they're assigned to me. So I just get to see them. I get to see them all. I'm kind of cheating a little bit here because all the tasks always get assigned to me. So it makes my life a little bit easier whenever it comes to pulling back the form instances that I want. But in any case, this is the purpose of this task list. And it is, again, just a knowledge view, a regular content list knowledge view. The only thing I've done is added the special sauce right here to ensure that if I have a task assigned in a form instance and I open it, and that task is assigned to me, then it's going to show me my task completion buttons. The active HR and active IT knowledge views are just that. They're just normal knowledge views. I guess I did fix that one. Let me go over here and fix this one. And all they do is just return the form instances that are active. So active HR, if we look at its filter, is just the timeline status equals active. And this knowledge view happens to be directly associated with the HR form, just as the active IT is associated with the IT form. So these are all very normal knowledge views. Now, they're important for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because as we look back over here at our workspace, and I guess we need to go back to that workspace. As we look over here, I need to be able to show those knowledge views. So I need to be able to show the task list, which in this case, it happens to be showing in a K-view control on the form, as we'll see in a little bit. But I've also got to be able to show my active HR and active IT requests by clicking these buttons, which I did a little bit earlier. We already saw that, but I need those particular knowledge views to be able to show them to the end users. So I've got those 3 buttons that show me 3 different knowledge views. So naturally, I need 3 different knowledge views to be able to display. I also need those knowledge views to provide a data source for these status boxes here. So if you'll notice, it says active HR requests, active IT requests. I have 2 HR and 3 IT requests. And of course, I have a total of 5 active tasks. All of these values derive from these business values that I created. They're all knowledge view business values, and they look at these knowledge views. So I have active HR, which looks at the active HR knowledge view, IT to the IT knowledge view, and so forth. So all I need to do for these knowledge views, or for these business values, is to grab the number of knowledge view rows. So I have connected them to the knowledge view. I've provided myself as the user whose context under which this knowledge view will execute, so that anybody who needs to open this form, which means anyone in the organization really who has access to this workspace, they all need to be able to run that knowledge view. They may or may not have permissions to do so directly. So for this business value, and for all knowledge view business values, we have to supply a user context that when this business value gets called, we will run it as if, in this case, I was running the knowledge view. It's a good practice on your process director system to have I don't want to call it an administrator, but kind of a super user account that has access to view pretty much any knowledge view on the system so that I can build a knowledge view business value to pull knowledge view data using that user as the user context under which the business value runs and calls the knowledge view. That way, if I have knowledge views that my end users technically aren't allowed to look at, but I want to pull some sort of data from those knowledge views, in this case, the total number of rows in the knowledge view, I can do that. I can run the knowledge view and I can retrieve that data as if I was doing it, even if the end user has no access to that knowledge view at all, doesn't even have view access, so can never directly look at it. So that is standard for all knowledge view type business values. So that's how I have it set here. And then for the properties, they only have one property, and it is called count. And that property, now that I know what knowledge view I'm pulling the data from, I don't want to pull a knowledge view column. In this case, I just want to pull the number of knowledge view rows. I just need a count of the rows of the knowledge view, and that count then I can use inside my workspace or inside the form that displays in the workspace to display 2, 3, and 5 as appropriate inside the workspace. So those are my little building blocks for the back-end data that I need. And so now we need to, well, those aren't all the building blocks I need. I need one more thing. I need a chart. And so I have this status chart. And this chart is just basically a normal chart. It looks at the task list knowledge view, and it shows a pie chart. And it just shows me the count of each of the different items in my knowledge view. So the type field basically tells me whether it's HR or IT, and then it just performs a count. Again, we're not going to go into how charts are created. I have a whole webinar on how to create charts. And so for details, refer to that. But those are the pieces that I need. So I've got 3 knowledge views that I want to display. I have numeric data, just the count data that I need to display. And then I got several buttons that need to be configured. And all this stuff has to work. And I'm going to be using a form to do it. In my case, it's this main UI form. And this form is going to go into a dashboard. So I have a dashboard, and the entire space of this dashboard is filled with that main UI form. That's the only thing that this dashboard contains. So to refer back to where we were last week, if we were to look at setting up the workspace, it's going to be a single pane workspace, and it's just going to have a couple of navigation buttons. If we look at the top of the screen, we can see I've got my home page, my IT request, and my HR request buttons. And if we click IT request or HR request, it'll open up those items. And I do have a home page. Now, as I mentioned last week, I don't need a home page, and all clicking does is refresh the home page here, because that's really the only view that I have in this simple workspace. Again, as we talked about last week, if I just click on the workspace name, it will also take me back to the home page, although I'm on the home page, so it isn't taking me there now. But I've added these buttons here. Now, they are up here at the top, and they're also on the workspace. So I recognize that there are some duplications here. That is intentional because I'm trying to demonstrate that we could do it in both places. The workspace itself, though, is very simple. It's just a normal workspace. I'm the only user assigned. Well, there's an HR group assigned to it, but I I'm the only user assigned to it. And I do that so that I can turn it on and off between webinars. There are three navigation buttons, as we've just seen. So my IT request, HR request on my homepage. There is one homepage window. It looks at a partition dashboard, and that is my main dashboard. So that is the architecture of the workspace itself. Now we have to get into how we're actually building this main UI form, because there are a couple of tips and tricks that we have to use to build out this form. So what we're going to do, because some of this is going to be a little bit tedious, and I'm going to do as much copying and pasting as I can to make this work. And in fact, the first thing I'm going to copy and paste is we're going to go back here to these styles, and I'm going to copy this CSS here. And with that in mind, in this window, we're going to open up the content list. We're going to pin it, and I am going to try, without being confused, to work in the webinar folder, which, as you can currently see, is empty, so that I can build the form that I have in this window. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this CSS, and I'll just explain to you what it is that I'm doing. Let me recreate my form here. I didn't want to create a folder. Let's try form definition, and we'll call this form the webinar UI form. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build this webinar form from scratch. And I don't even want to go to the online form designer yet. I actually want to go to the properties tab, and I want to go down here to this additional CSS body styling, and I'm just going to throw this in. Now, this is one of the cool little things that you can do in Process Director, especially if you know a little bit of CSS. It is often difficult to style standard Process Director objects by themselves via CSS. There is a rather complex cascading system of style sheets, hence the name, cascading style sheets. There is a relatively complex cascade that is used to provide styles for individual controls. Now, we can get around this somewhat because part of that stack of CSS styles includes the styles that we have to be able to set whenever a field is set as enabled or required or disabled, or the field is in error. There's a variety of things that we can do with just normal CSS commands in these drop-downs. These are weird little drop-downs, actually, because there's actually styles, pre-made styles that you can select. So you can select these styles, but these boxes are also editable. So if I don't like that light red color and I want to change that, I can via text, or I can simply write my own CSS style commands separated by semicolons, and I can create my own CSS styles here. Now, the trouble with that is that it only changes the standard look of enabled, required, disabled, or error controls. So actually using the additional CSS body styling to set the style on individual controls can be difficult because you have to know what style needs to be changed. You have to set the style that you want to change as important. And sometimes, because of the way the CSS stack works, you just can't change a particular style on a control. It does get tricky. There are ways to do it, but it does get tricky, and it requires some familiarity with Process Director styling. On the other hand, you can do things like this. I've just created a style called metric panel, And that style, I'm not going to try to apply to a process director control. I'm just going to apply the style to a table. And all it is doing is just adding that little drop shadow. The actual CSS command is box shadow, and the color is RGB000, so that's black. And then there's a slash, and then we say 30%. So it's not really black, it's only 30% black because that is the opacity is 30%. And I want it to be 1 pixel on the top and right, and 7 pixels on the bottom, I think. I forget sometimes in CSS what the order is of these four. It's top, I forget the order, but it is the top, bottom, left, and right. And that's where the shadow will show up. And you're just saying, I want the shadow to extend n number of pixels away from the object. So what I can do is apply this style to specific HTML objects, like in this case, a table, so that I can put this little styling deal around the entire table. And so that gives me the ability to just throw that drop shadow in. I don't know that this is important or that we need the drop shadow, or even that drop shadows are considered, outdated by today's modern design standard where you'd like to see everything flat. The important thing to remember is that whenever you're creating not just a UI like this, but any form, you can create your own CSS styles and apply them to different areas of your form. However, applying them to a specific process director control can be, as I just talked about, rather troublesome. So that's the only thing that you need to keep in mind. If you need to apply a style to a control and you're having trouble with it, that's probably something you would need to have implementation assistance from with us, so that we could actually try to help you figure out exactly how to apply a CSS style to a process director control, because we have pre-defined styles for those controls. Some of them we apply, some of them are styles that are built into the controls itself. So you've really got 3 layers and potentially 4 layers of cascade. You've got the process director style sheet. Then you've got the style sheet for the control components themselves that are kind of built into the controls. Then I have this level of styling here. And of course, on an individual control, almost any control in Process Director has its own style property where you can throw in CSS styles in that style property as well. So that's potentially a 4th level of cascade. When you're 4 levels deep into CSS styling, trying to figure out what overwrites which can be tricky. So CSS can be tricky, but there are certain things that you can do, especially when we're talking about a UI and we're not trying to style process director items, but just generic HTML items. That's all rather simple to do, and that can all be accomplished here in this additional CSS body styling. We'll worry about applying this styling later, but I just wanted you to know that it exists, and this is how you would create a drop shadow around an item if you wanted to. As it happens, because this is a custom style, and I don't believe it would conflict with any existing CSS style, I think this is a style that you could apply to almost anything to create a drop shadow around it. Whether you think that's a wise thing to do or an attractive bit of UI styling is entirely up to you. But I need to update this so that it's there and we don't lose it. And now we'll go into building the form itself. Now, I am not going to completely recapitulate all of the items that exist on this form, but I do want to show you how each of these items works. So we are going to build a simpler version of this form where I'm just going to go and take each one of these elements and configure them. And it probably is not going to be as pretty as all of this with the colors. But let's create our new form. So we need a header at the top. We're just going to run through this real quick. So I am going to create, actually, this is the other reason why I wanted this open, because I went through some questions about how I wanted to style this. So so these are two separate tables. Okay, I just wanted to ensure that I had that correct. So those are two separate tables. So let's throw in the header table first. Now the header table has 3 columns and 2 rows, but we are going to merge some of those. So we're going to go to our table and we're going to need 2 rows, but we are going to need 3 columns. And everything else we're just going to keep as default, and we're just going to create this table. So one of the things I want to do is I want to be able to set the background color of all of these items. So we're just going to go to cell properties, and I am going to set the background color using our regular BP Logix colors 082 F4D for our navy blue color. 082 F4D. Okay, thank you. So now I've set the background color for these cells. In my first column, well, let me explain the architecture first. So I have a tiny bit of complication here, which is that I do want to have my buttons here, and I'm going to put a button in there just to show you how how all of this stuff works. But I also need the title. I've got my logo over here, and I've got this image over here. And I want to center the logo, not so much center the image. So I'm going to do a little bit of, there's going to be a little bit of complication in terms of how this table is going to work, because I want to center these 2 buttons. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to need to merge some table cells. So I need 2 rows in my middle column. In my first column, however, I don't. So for these 2 cells, it does get a little harder to see what I'm doing here because I have put the background color on. All right, for whatever reason, I seem to be unable to merge these cells. I'm selecting, but it's also selecting all of those other columns. I don't want that to happen. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to cheat. We're going to go to column, and we're going to insert a column before, and then we are going to go to column here. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't solve my problem. Okay, I am super irked now that I can't just select these columns to merge them. All right. We're just going to delete that table. We're going to do it this way. We're going to insert 1 row and 3 columns. And then here, well, insert row after. Well, I am flummoxed here because it is not allowing me It is not selecting columns, and I don't know why. Okay, this is getting irksome, and I'm getting tired of that. So I'm not sure what's happening. I should be able just to select those cells and merge them. And for some reason, I'm not able to do that today. So fine. I'm going to see if I can just copy and paste this over here. Well, it ain't pretty, but it worked. It gives me all of my items. So I am going to delete that logo. I've decided I have something better. Okay, I've got the table. So I'm going to have to make some changes to this table now that I've copied it over. Let me copy everything. Cell and cell properties. And let me set my background color as 082 F4D again. All right, I've got my colors. I'm happy with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of these cells and we're going to make a little change to them. So on this very first cell, we're going to go to cell properties and we're going to set the width here to, and we're going to use percentages. And we're going to set this width to 25%. There we go. And for the table itself, for our table properties, we want to set the width as 100%. Oops, that's not a percent sign. That is. Okay, so now my table is just going to automatically expand to whatever size it needs to be to fit the viewport. This column here is automatically going to expand to 25% of my viewport width. Now, for this column right here, this third column, I'm going to go into just the top cell. And generally, whenever we're trying to set column sizes, we can just go to the very top row and select a cell in the top row, go to cell properties, and we can set its size. So again, we're just going to go with 25%. There we go. And so now we have a table where my first column is 25% of the width. My third column is 25% of the width of the table. And then this column in the middle will be 50% of the table width. Now, I deleted my logo because I don't particularly like that logo, especially on this blue background. So I'm going to click my image control. Oh, I closed the design console. So I guess I better open that back up. And I'm just going to go ahead and upload a control there. So we'll go to work, BP Logix logos, and that is the logo mark I want to use. This beautiful white one there. I'm going to send it to the server. And now that is a very large logo. As you can see, I don't want it to be 2,524 pixels wide. In fact, I should probably use a smaller image of the logo rather than the one that I selected, but I've selected it, so we're just going to keep it. I am going to bring this logo size down to 200 pixels, however, so that it is a little bit more normal size and it fits nicely inside my cell. There's a couple of things I want to do in the cell too to set its cell properties. For the display, I want to set my horizontal alignment to center and my vertical alignment to middle so that my image will appear right in the center middle of the cell, no matter how big the cell gets. It's not going to get much bigger than this, but I just want it to be able to display really nicely. I've got my form text here. I am just going to set it to white so it pops against that navy blue background. And I am going to set the size. I'll just set it for 36. So there we go. There is my title, Webinar Sample App. Once again, if we go to our cell properties, in this case, I haven't set anything for the alignment. I think my vertical alignment, I should set it to the middle for this one so that it's always going to be vertically spaced in the middle. And now let's go and take a look at what we've done over here. So this is a BP Logix image control. Now, just a moment ago, you saw me use this image control. That's the standard image control that comes in CK Editor. And it's nice and it does some cool stuff, but we also have our own image control. It is under other controls, right? Hotline Technology, image control. There it is. I thought it was there. That is where I grabbed this image control that we see on the page now. This is a BP Logix image control. And the reason that I'm using it is for the configurations that I can place on it. And this is one of those things that we can style here, and I'll show you what I've done now. I'm going to call this user pick, this image control. And the BP Logix image control always requires an image URL. So the image has to exist somewhere. Now, whenever I want to display a user's profile image, there's a very easy way to do that. If I use cur user, comma, format equals picture, then what Process Director returns is the URL of the user's profile picture. And so just putting that in, that system variable in as the image URL with format equals picture, will always return the profile image for whatever user happens to be looking at this form, which in this case is obviously me. So it's going to show my profile picture. Now this styling down here, I'm just setting it so that it displays in a circle because it is a 100 pixel image. So because it's a 100 pixel image, I'm going to set the border radius to 50 pixels, half of the value of my image width. And it is a square image in this case. So this works out perfectly for me because if I cut a border radius of 50 pixels, that's basically 50% of a 100 wide and tall square. And so therefore it's going to make a circle out of my profile image. If you don't have a square profile image, I think Process Director handles that for you, so you don't have to worry about it. I think all of the images that I've uploaded are square, and so that makes my life a little bit easier, but it will return that picture. If that picture is not square, I won't get a perfect circle like I will here. So your mileage may vary for how that styling goes, but I have set it to 100 pixels wide and given it a 50 pixel border radius to turn this square picture into a circle. And I've also given it a 5 pixel margin on top just for general purposes. Now I've got a system variable control, which I should probably set the text on that to white there. And again, I'm just returning for this system variable the current user's username, which in my case is Dale Franks. I could change this label to user name, I suppose. It's not really necessary, but I could certainly do that, and that's now going to appear inside the cell. Also, again, cell properties. What I probably want to do is set this horizontal alignment to center and set the vertical alignment to middle, uh, just to make sure that everything uh, appears in the middle of that table cell. Well, in the middle vertically and centered horizontally in that table cell. Okay, all of that is pretty standard stuff so far until we come to these buttons. I've got several buttons on here that all have to be configured, and I can't really configure them from here, although I'm curious if yes, the on client click actually did work. I just need to see IT form. Okay, that's the name of the control. So the way that the buttons work here is going to be a little bit tricky. So let's actually go ahead and just do this. Just go ahead and do the table and just build that table. That's going to be super simple as well. I'm only going to need, well, depending on how I do that, I'm going to need to nest some tables here. So let's talk about table nesting. So in Process Director, you can nest a table inside a table. That's just a standard HTML function. It's not anything amazing we do. It's just how tables work. And so that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to drop in this other table here. Again, it's going to be one row. It's going to be 3 columns. And we'll just hit OK. There, I've got my second table. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to want to do here. I'm going to want to go to the very first column, go to that very first cell, set those cell properties again to now, this time the cell is 100 pixels wide, but or 100% wide, but this time I want to set this in pixels. So I actually want a set width for this particular table cell. And I forget what I set it to. Let's try 250 pixels and see what that looks like. That's a little big. So let's make it just a little smaller. So we'll go to cell properties, and let's knock 50 pixels off of this bad boy. Well, that's not how you knock 50 pixels off of 250. Okay, there we go. All right, that's a more reasonable size. And now I know what I'm building here, so I kind of know how I want to build this. So I know I'm going to have 3 of these status boxes. Now, each of these status boxes are their own little tables as well. So I'm going to need to do some extra table nesting here. And what I'm going to do, and I want to have some vertical spacing as well. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into this very first cell, and I'm going to drop in a table with 5 rows and 1 column. And I'm going to want to delete that extra space at the bottom. So now I've got these 5 rows here. Now, there's a reason that I'm going to do 5 rows. So up here at the very top, I'm going to have one of my status boxes. Then I want to have a space between them. So I'm going to leave this empty table row here. And we may do some extra formatting here a little bit later. Then here's the third row is going to be my second, and again, another space. And then the fifth row is going to be my third status box. So just to make my first status box here, once again, I am going to insert yet another table. And in this case, it is going to be 2 rows and, oops, not 2, 1 column. And once again, we'll get rid of that extra space there. So this is the table cell, the table that is going to contain my status box. So if we go back here and look at how the status box styling works, I have this light blue background on the top, and then I have this, again, the navy blue background on the bottom. I don't think I'm going to use the navy blue background on that bottom one. I think I'm going to use one of our other BP Logix colors, but I don't remember exactly what the color is. So we're going to go to Notion, and I'm looking for 425 B76. I'm going to need that color. And I think this will make our button pop a little bit better when I put a button in there. So we're going to go back over here, and we're going to go to this bottom cell, and we're going to go to cell properties, and we're going to set its background color as 425 B76. And for the top one, we're going to do something similar. We're going to go to cell properties, and we're going to set the background color there to 528B. Oh no, that's not the color I want to use. D0D. Is it D0D FED? I think so. That light blue. Great. Perfect. So let's remember, we have a style called metric panel. We don't really want to show it to you now since I'm right in the middle of this, but we have that style called metric panel. I'm going to go here to table properties, and I'm going to go to advanced, and it's got that style sheet class there. I think that is the proper syntax. It is the proper syntax. It's hard to see, but my table now has that little drop shadow around it because I went into the table properties, went to the advanced tab, and I just put in the name of that style, which is metric panel. And now it shows me my little drop shadow. Now I'm going to have to repeat this 2 more times, but we'll get to that in a moment. So that's going to be 200 pixels wide, that first column. Second column, we're not going to set. The third column, we'll set that the size of that. Let me cheat. Let me see what size did I set this at. We'll go to cell properties. I set it to 400 pixels. Good to know. So on that third column, we are going to go to cell and cell properties, and we'll set it to 400 pixels. And there we go. That is the outline of our form. And this is where all of our controls are going to go. At least the controls that provide us with the visual look and feel that we need for our UI. So in the second panel, we're going to go in here and we are going to go to cell and cell properties. We're going to override that horizontal or that vertical alignment to top because I want my knowledge view, because we are going to have to put a knowledge view in here. I want it to show up at the very top. I don't want it to hover in the middle because this is going to be fairly large horizontally when I get it done. And depending on what I throw in this column, it might make this entire outer row very tall horizontally. So I want my knowledge view to go up here to the top. So I do need to add my knowledge view, which in this case is going to be my task list. So I am going to go to other controls, and I'm going to enter a knowledge view control, and I'm just going to call it task list. That'll be my control name. And for the field properties for this control, I have got to set its default value to a content item, because I've got to specify what knowledge view is going to fill up this space. And so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into my advanced UI, and I'm going to go to K views, and there is my task list, and I'm going to set my task list as the knowledge view that I want to display in that middle column. That's all pretty straightforward. It's literally just showing a knowledge view. I'm going to do something similar in this third column here, where I am going to go to cell properties. And once again, I am going to set the vertical alignment back up to the top to override the default. And here I am going to insert a view report control, or show report control. The show report control usually is used to show a report object, but charts are also considered reports in Process Director, so we're going to use it to show a chart. So I'm just going to call this active tasks as my chart, or as my control name. Then we're going to go into the field properties. Once again, we're going to set the default value to content item. And this time, instead of picking a knowledge view, we are going to pick our chart. So that's a UI element. There's the status chart. So I'm just going to make that my UI control. And at this point, we're already doing a couple of things. Up here at the very top, it should show me and my name. I should see this knowledge view in the middle, and then over here in the middle column of the main area of the page, and then over on the right-hand column, I should see this chart whenever the form runs. I have my HR request and my new IT request buttons, which are we're going to have to configure in a moment. We'll do that in a sec, but for now, let's just check my form and see that it runs. Let's just hit save and run form and see what we come up with, because this is the easy stuff. There we go. Great. Standard Process Director stuff. Here's my little table that we haven't actually done anything with yet, but that we are going to do something with very soon. There's my knowledge view. There's my report. My knowledge view obviously works. It opens up the forms. Okay, we're happy now. The problem is that nothing happens here. Well, something happens. I'm going to get an error because this because these buttons are already configured, even though they shouldn't be, because I copied and pasted them. So these buttons have to be configured. And I'm also going to need to add all of the buttons here and all of the other data here that I have on the other form. So I'm going to need to bring all that data over. I also have to get rid of this, because this is a form. Process Director always wants to give you submit and cancel changes button, but nobody is going to submit this form. So I don't want to give them the opportunity, because both submit and cancel changes closes the form. And I don't want to have the form closed in my UI. I want it to display all the time. So I got to fix that. And I've got to make these buttons here and the buttons that I'm going to place here, they all have to work. And currently, they do not. So I'm going to have to put a little special sauce in here. Now, all of the controls, well, actually, let's do this. And let me to recapitulate what it is. HR, so we'll do HR first. So right here, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our cell and cell properties, and we are going to set our vertical or horizontal alignment here to center so that my text aligns in the center. And so we're going to do a little more styling here. So I'm going to put HR requests, and then I'm going to add a space. And now let's do some formatting. So this HR requests, I obviously want that to be bold, and I want the size. Oh, let's put it somewhere around, is 18 big enough? Yeah, 18 is fine. So we're going to set that to 18. Oh, also the text itself. I think we're going to want to change the color. So we're going to go to more colors. And once again, we are going to use, that is an @ sign, not a pound sign, 082F4D, which is the BP Logix navy blue color. Great. I actually probably should have highlighted both of those and set that color. So we'll do that. There's that blue color. And now down here, now we're just doing display stuff here, but now I want to show the number of HR requests. So once again, I'm going to want to make this bold, and I'm also going to want to change this size quite substantially. Is 72 too big? No, 72 is fine. But instead of putting text in here, I am going to drop in a system variable control. And this is going to be a business rule. And that business rule name is Active HR. And that is not a rule, that is a business value. So we'll go with BV Active HR. And my label here will just be in so that I have a label. So once again, it is blue. I should have made it and then bold-faced it. And then we can set our size. Once again, 272. So right now it's just going to show an in as a placeholder. We can actually run and test our form just to be sure that that business value is working to provide us with the expected data in our form. And it does not look like it is working. So BV Active HR. It is called Active HR. I shouldn't have to type in all of this. I thought BV worked. BizVal? Okay. Well, since I have the, oh, there we go. That's what I was missing. Syntax is important, kids. It needs to know what property I need to return. So let's try this again. BV is not my problem. My problem is excluding the dot count, which has the name of my property. This should give us a much better view of what is going on. There we go. HR requests 2. Maybe I have a little too much space there. Let's drop this back to 48 instead of 72. And let's do another little test and see if this gives us a little better size. Okay, that's more reasonable looking. I'm happy with that. Now we're going to need another button down here in this bottom row of this status box table. So I'm going to place my cursor in there. I'm going to go to cell properties, and this time I want to set my horizontal alignment to the right because that's where I want my button to appear. And I'm going to need to add a button control. So we'll go to actions and we'll pick button as the control. And now I definitely want to make some changes here to this button. I do want to give it the same name. Oh, well, new HR2, because I called this new HR. Okay. So I am going to change that name. We're going to call this button HR status. And the text, I think I just had more. I have more info as the text. Fine. So we're going to give the same text, more info. There we go. And now we need to go to the button properties. And to make life easier, we can do some copying and pasting. So the icon number is icon number 1218. Now we can use the icon chooser, of course, anytime we want to select an icon. So here we go. We can see this. This is 1218. Now I'm a little lazy. So instead of using the icon chooser here, I am just going to, I guess I'm just going to type in 1218. The color, I want the text color to be white. So we'll just go with F. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I actually could do it with just 3. I could just go FFF and that would work. And my back color, again, I want to be that navy color. So 0, 8, 2, F4D. And that is not a 0. That is an O. Great. So I got that. Now let's go ahead and let's just save real quick so we can see the changes to it. Oh, I didn't want to save and close, but well, there we go. I did it anyway. All right. So here's the thing. On the previous form, I set the background color here to the navy blue color, and then I made the button navy blue. I have gone with that sort of darker medium steel blue for the background color of the cell so that I could use the navy blue color for the button. And I think that whenever we run this thing, that is going to look a little bit nicer. Yeah, yeah, I kind of like that. It's enough shading that you can tell the difference, but it's still rather subtle. I'm much happier with that setup on my buttons. So visually, we have all the things that we need. The other status boxes are just repetitions of what we've done right here with this very top HR request status box. So I'm not going to make a whole bunch of them. We just have to make these buttons work. Currently, they don't. I need to be able to open new forms with these buttons, and I need to be able to do it in the client. And I need to be sure that nobody can submit this form. So I'm just about to throw on 4 hidden controls on this form to make this work as a UI. The first thing I'm going to drop in is a button area. And I'm going to take this button area and I am going to go all the way over to field properties. and this field is hidden. The reason I need a button area control on the form is that if I don't place one on a form, Process Director will automatically place button area controls at the very bottom of the form. The only way to prevent Process Director from doing that is to put a button area control someplace where I want it, and then I can hide it. As long as I have a button area control on the form, Process Director is not going to force me to have a submit button on a form. Now, in 99.9999% of the cases, not having a submit button is a bad thing. But whenever your form is supposed to be a UI, you don't want submit buttons. So then it becomes a good thing. Now, how do these buttons work? In Process Director, we have some JavaScript APIs kind of built in. And one of those APIs is called iPopUp Simple. In our documentation, in the developer's guide, so we go to Development SDK, and I think it is in development. No, it is not in development overview. Custom scripting development. Right down here, custom scripting and development, JavaScript APIs. Now, part of the JavaScript APIs documentation that we have is to show you how to set and get control values in a form via JavaScript. And that's cool enough, I suppose. But the iPopUp Simple command is a way to open up objects via buttons inside Process Director just using a JavaScript control. We can open them up in a new window via JavaScript. And all we need to do is provide them with a single parameter, the URL that we want that particular item to open. Now, constructing that URL is going to get a little bit tedious. But let's go back over here to our first button, because I've already got iPopUp Simple running on these two buttons. So we'll go ahead and configure it on this button. So this button right now doesn't have anything configured. There are no button properties on client click. Now, why is on client click important? By default, clicking a button more or less submits the form. It's not as simple as that, but in essence, a button generally submits a form. It completes a form action. In the case of Process Director, that means doing a server round trip, popping back to the server. We don't want to pop back to the server. We're building a UI. We want to keep everything in our user's browser. So the cool thing about on client click is that it interrupts the server side send on a button control. And by using on client click, what we're telling this button is all I want you to do is run some JavaScript inside the browser. That's it. Don't want you to send information back to the server. Don't want you to refresh the form. Let's not make this any harder than it has to be. Let's just open a new window and show something in that window. Here's the URL of what I want to show you. So we're going to use that iPopUp Simple command on client click so that we short circuit the button from trying to submit a form back to Process Director. We don't want that to happen. In fact, there's no data on this form. What would we submit and why would we create form instances anyway? So we are just going to go with iPopUp Simple. And I can already tell that this is going to be super bad to try to do. So we are going to open up Visual Studio Code so that we can actually see what it is that we want to see. And that is last week's training webinar transcript, new text file. So we are going to call iPopUp simple. In fact, because I am lazy, let's go back to my form. We'll grab the properties for iPopUp simple here. And we'll look at it right here because this is the command that we're going to write. So remember, as I said, iPopUp simple just takes a URL. That's all it takes. I mean, this fundamentally is the command for iPopUp simple. It just happens to have a semicolon at the end because all JavaScript lines have a semicolon at the end. And all it takes is a URL. So the fundamental syntax of iPopUp simple, which is a JavaScript command, is basically this. We need a URL in here somewhere. Now, in Process Director, we can construct URLs pretty simply. Because if we replace URL, we can just build URLs. Now, every knowledge view in Process Director is displayed in a page called kv.aspx. The only difference is the ID of the knowledge view. So if we were to go and take a look, now that we're not there. In fact, let me be sure that saves. So if we go back and we take a look at any knowledge view. So active HR is the one that we're looking at now. So that's the knowledge view that we want to see. Down here at the bottom, it's training.bplogix.net, kv.aspx, ext equals 1. We don't care about that. What we do care about is ID equals, and this is the object ID of this knowledge view. Now, I could, of course, simply copy this knowledge view URL. I could take that to iPopUp simple, and I could just use that as the URL. And that will be fine as long as I'm only using this interface form on this system. And it will never be exported from my development system to my production server. That's going to make things harder for two reasons. Number one, if this is my dev server, then it's going to be different on my production server. And second of all, this knowledge view, this ID, this is not what the ID is going to be on my production server because GUIDs don't export and import between machines. GUIDs are unique. When I create this knowledge view by importing it into my production server, my ID is going to change. And of course, because it's on my production server, my server name is going to change. Both of those things will be wrong. So sure, I could hard code it right now for a demo and it would work and it would look amazing, but I can never use it on any other system. In general, we presume that you're going to be developing this stuff on a development server or perhaps in a development partition, in which case the server name wouldn't change, but your ID would still change. What you're going to do is once you finish developing it, you're going to export it into a PDZ file and import it into your production environment. So I have to have a workaround to fix that problem, because that's only going to work on this system. And of course, this problem, again, it's only going to work on this system. So I have two ways that I have to go to solve this. The first thing I have is easy, because I have a system variable for interface URL. It's always going to return, https://mysername.com/. So that is already, that already exists. I know that exists. And so if I run it on my dev server, interface URL is going to return my dev server's URL. And if I run it on production, it's going to return that URL. So great. I now have that. I do know this is all going to be hard coded. So it is going to be kv.aspx, and I need to pass it the ID as a URL parameter. But now my problem is, how do I do that? Now, I have this system variable here. And the reason I have this system variable is I am going to need a control called ActiveHR. And I hope I haven't, with this particular control, I'm going to need a control that returns the value that I need properly. So now I don't know, this must be my webinar UI form. So this is the one we're covering right here. So what did I name that? Sorry. ActiveHR. I should probably copy that. Make my life a little bit easier. So here's what I'm going to need to do. I am going to need to drop a content picker onto this form so that I can select the item that I want to run. Why am I picking a content picker? Because the default value for a content picker that gets saved is the ID, the object ID of the selected object. So we're going to go to content picker 10 here, and we're going to change that name to ActiveHR. And we're not even going to worry about that. Not even going to worry about that. We're just going to go straight to field properties, and we're going to set the default value. This is a content picker. It picks content list objects. So we're just going to pick a content item here. And the content item we are going to pick is our ActiveHR knowledge view. The completed app, KViews, and that is the ActiveHR knowledge view that we're going to run. Now we're setting that as the default value for this content item. So when the form runs, and yes, I know it's not going to be hidden when the form runs. When it runs, it's going to be pointing to that ActiveHR knowledge view that is providing our data. Now, just as a user picker stores as a default value the user's UID, the content picker stores as its default value the object ID of the content list object. So this is going to return, if I use it as a system variable, which indeed I am, this is going to return the ID of the ActiveHR knowledge view. All I need to do now is just ensure that nobody can see it ever. So I am going to set its display options to hidden. All right, well, now that I have this ID, or now that I have this object specified with this content picker, I can then go into this button control. I can go to its button properties, go to on client click, and call iPopUp simple. Interface URL, great. And how are we going to find the ID? Well, I have a control called ActiveHR. And in this case, for the system variable, I am going to explicitly pull back format equals ID to ensure that I get the object ID and not the object's name. Um, content pickers and user pickers are tricky. What they show you is the name of a user or a content list item. And you would think that that was the value that's getting stored, but it's not. It's kind of like a drop-down controller. I can have a separate value and display text. What is saved in the process directory database is the ID for either the user or the object, because that's a unique value. And that's what we can use to tie everything to a specific object in the system. What those controls want to show you, however, is the name, not the ID, because we understand the ID would be meaningless. We have carried that philosophy forward into how the system variables work. Now, if this was a drop-down control, it would return the value of that control. But because content items and user pickers are tricky in the sense that it would always return a GUID, we don't want to do that. So even the system variable itself will return the name by default. It won't return the ID, even though technically the control is storing the ID, not the name. Control doesn't care about the name. That's a dumb human thing. Smart computer thing is to store that ID that uniquely identifies it. So that's why we've had to add this format equals ID. If we didn't add that, what we'd get back oftentimes, or most of the time, would be the name. So we don't want that. We want to ensure that we pull the ID. But that is going to construct our URL. So we're going to copy that and go back over here to on client click, and we're going to paste it. And now when I run my form, and we'll have to give it a second to run, and I ask for more info about my HR requests on this button, it's going to open up that knowledge view, and it is going to show me all of the items that are contained in that knowledge view. Similar thing happens for the new HR request and the new IT request. They haven't been configured. They need their items. So we're going to close this real quick, and we're going to add their items. So the new HR request, again, it's already configured with iPop-up Simple because I copied and pasted it. So it wants a HR form. Well, let me copy the whole thing. We're looking at a form now, not a knowledge view. So it's going to be slightly different. Instead of kv.aspx with ID as a parameter, it's going to be form.aspx, and the parameter is form ID. And again, we're just going to drop the interface URL in there to get the first part of the URL and the trailing slash. And then we need to provide that ID, which means that we need a content list picker called HR form for this one. So we'll just go down here to this bottom line. Other controls, nope. Yes, nope. Other input controls, content picker. And we're going to call this HR form. And this time in the field properties, once again, of course, we're going to set this to hidden because we don't want anybody to see it. But our default value, once again, is going to be a content item. And the content item we'll pick, obviously, will be our HR form. So now we'll go into forms. There is our HR form. We've selected that. And for the second button to open up that form, again, URL is exactly the same. The only difference is this time we are looking for an item called IT form. Did I name this HR form? I did. Good. So now we just need another content picker. And this time it's going to be called IT form. That is not IT form. That is IT form. And we're going to go to its field properties and again, set it to hidden and set its default value to a content item. And this time it's the IT form. So, oh, that's wrong one. Advanced UI. There's my IT form. So we're set with that. So now I have my IT form and my HR form content list pickers. And if I run and test my form again, and we'll give it a few seconds, there is my form. If I click new HR request, there is my new HR request form. And new IT request will open my new IT form. So we're happy campers as far as that goes. So if we just go back and look at my form, since I've now pretty much configured everything, so we don't have to manually configure anything else. All I've really done is for each of these buttons, and there are 5 of them, I'm going to need 5 content pickers, each to supply the appropriate ID for the iPop-up simple command that I am passing along to each of these buttons that are on the form. 5 buttons, 5 controls, and of course my hidden button area control. Once I have this form configured in the manner in which I want to configure it, it is now ready for me just to, create a dashboard object, and on that dashboard object, simply drop that form on there. So that's the only thing that's on the dashboard object, because the form already has all the navigation buttons I need. It opens up all the forms or knowledge views I want to see. It does everything that I need. If I ever want to change the UI now, I don't really have to go to the dashboard. I certainly don't have to go into configuration and change the configuration of the workspace at all. Now, all I have to do as the developer of this application is to open the main UI form and to make whatever changes to this form as seem most conducive to the welfare and sanity of my users. And so this becomes a implementer maintained UI that looks better than the regular UI. Now, I have done this just with tables and things like that. I know that tables aren't the most, modern way of designing forms. Technically, you can do all this using the responsive layout controls. So you can do all this using Bootstrap. And the nice thing about using Bootstrap, since we're also using on-client click for all of this stuff, we don't really, well, first of all, most of our controls are going to be hidden. So we don't care about what their display is anyway. The controls that we can see, these button controls, we're not treating them as form controls at all. We're not submitting really anything. All we're doing is running on client click for all of those buttons to make stuff happen in our browser. So perhaps what I should do is make a version of this using the responsive layout controls and just build it in Bootstrap and talk about how we would do that there. However, it's 11:40 and we don't have time to go through how we might do that in Bootstrap today. So we're going to end it here. I was about to say have a great week, but I hope to see you tomorrow at the AI discussion forum as we try to, figure out some ways that we might be able to use AI to automate your application building tasks in Process Director to make them simple. I'll also talk a little bit about kind of our company's AI philosophy, which you'll probably find different than what you hear coming out of Microsoft and NVIDIA. I think we have a slightly different vision for using AI. We'll have that discussion tomorrow as well. If you don't show up to that discussion, great. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, so long.